Hey guys, Jeremy here with Simple Life, and welcome to installment number 23 of Viewers Knives. I absolutely love doing these segments, not just because it's so cool to see all the different knives you're making, but to hear the stories and the significance and, who you made the knife for, why you got into knife making. It's so neat to kind of get to know and learn more about this knife making community that we're all a part of. And for me to be able to share this with you guys is an honor. I'm inspired every time I sit down to edit one of these Viewers Knives videos, and I hope you'll find this incredibly inspirational as well. There's some fantastic looking knives we're going to take a look at today, so sit back and enjoy. Alright, this first knife we'll look at is sent to me from Steve, and he is a 50-year-old knife maker from Alabama. He's been making knives for about 2 years, and he says he just loves it. He wishes that he had discovered knife making 30 or 40 years ago, but like he also said here in his email, it's never too late. He made this knife for his son who's graduating from basic training in the US Army. The overall length is about 11 inches, and it's made from a piece of Alabama Damascus with a buckshot pattern. He made the mosaic pins himself. He has black and red liners and desert camo Kyanite scales. This knife looks so nice, just fantastic attention to detail, and especially the fact that you made this for your son to show your pride in him, and just absolutely really cool. So Steve, thank you for sharing this with us. Great looking blade. We're going to head over to the UK, and Morgan is a 14-year-old knife maker who just wanted to get into making knives, and so he made these two from hacksaw blades. When you think about that, it's a great place to start. And one comment I get all the time is I don't have materials, blah blah blah, cry. Morgan didn't do that. He just said, hey, I'm going to grab something and I'm going to make some knives. Very nicely done, Morgan. Absolutely inspirational. Keep up the great work, and I really look forward to seeing more of your work in the future. Alright, let's head from the UK to Winnipeg, Manitoba. William is a 37-year-old knife maker, and he's been making knives on and off for about 15 years. He says he really enjoys the channel and has learned quite a few new tricks, so thank you, William. I appreciate that. And he's actually taken his knife making from a hobby to a business. He's recently just launched Winnipeg Blade Works, and so these knives look really great. I like this double dashi idea. That's a really neat idea. William, I think your work is fantastic. Very nice attention to detail, and I wish you a lot of success with your new knife business. Thanks for sending these pictures in to us. Okay, let's check out the work of another 14-year-old knife maker. These are from Jose, and he's from Georgia. This first one he made as a box opener, and you know what? Looks like it would do a great job of that. He actually just made it out of a piece of scrap steel that he had, and then he also included some drawings of some knives that he had, as well as it's really interesting when you see somebody's drawing concepts on paper to what actually comes to fruition in real life. Very interesting to kind of see that progress. Also, I'll put a link to his Instagram in the description below. Be sure to go check him out. He says he's got a lot more knives on there. Jose, thank you for sharing these with us. Okay, next we're going to look at some knives from Max, and he's been making knives for about 2 years and just wanted to share some of them with us. This first knife here looks like a really nice kitchen knife. Looks like it'd be great to use. He's also done quite a few Kiradashis. I really like the texturing he did for that. Looks like you'd have a really great purchase on the blade there. And then also he's made some of these small pry bar tools, little EDC tools. Super fun to make, really great to carry. And then just check out this Kiradashi. It's so clean, so crisp. The execution just looks really well done. Max, you're doing great work. Keep it up. Okay, now let's head to Belgium. Jerome has made this. This is his very first knife, and I really liked what he said in his email. He said, you know what, I was smiling throughout the entire process, and that's kind of the kicker. That's the key about knife making, is that it is so much fun. And especially when you look at this knife, and to have this be your very first knife, my goodness, Jerome, this is incredible. Very nice work. Keep it up, and I hope you continue to smile while you make more knives in the future. Okie dokie, let's head from Belgium to the land down under, good old Australia. Daniel is a 21-year-old knife maker, and he's been making knives for about a year now, and he's still using fairly rudimentary means to put his bevels on his blades, but he's getting great results. He uses everything from angle grinders to bench top grinders to files. Even this straight razor that he made, that was done on a bench top grinder, not a belt grinder, but just a bench grinder, and he actually personally shaved with it to a moderate degree of success. And you know what? I used a straight razor shave myself, and it doesn't matter what you have. If you're getting a moderate degree of success, you're doing pretty good with it. So keep up this great work, Daniel. Your knives look fantastic, and it's so cool to see people making such great things without having all the big fancy gizmos and things like that. So very nicely done. Renouret is a 16-year-old French knife maker, and he's been making knives for about 2 years. He's made altogether over 25 knives. He uses 1084 steel and D2, and then a whole bunch of different types of woods. Basically, he makes his knives and sells them and takes all that money to buy more tools. Right now, he's saving up for a 2x72 belt grinder, and I think that is really cool. Renouret, keep up this great work. It is so cool to see you making these knives. They look really great. You should be proud. Okay, we are just bouncing all over the planet here. We're going to go from France to Costa Rica. Louis is sharing pictures of the first 2 knives that he's made. And, he says he's got very limited tools and he's working in his grandpa's small shop. But he says here, the very key thing is that he's very willing to learn. Knife making is a learning process. And you know what? I appreciate all the wonderful words you said, Louis. I'm glad you find this information I share useful. And quite frankly, that is the reason I share it, is because it might be useful to other people. So I really do appreciate your wonderful email. Your knives look fantastic and it's very inspiring to see you getting into it. You know what? I was getting into it just like you years ago, and it's just so much fun. Enjoy it and keep up the great work. Mike is a 31-year-old knife maker from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and he started making knives a little over a year ago, and he said that his main focus was to make his own Damascus. That was like his goal from the outset. And when you think about that, that is quite a tall order. That's something to strive for and achieve, and he's done very, very well at it. He says he's found a lot of inspiration on channels like Walter Searles and Alex Steele, obviously 2 wonderful, wonderful resources, and then he's learned quite a bit about fit and finish from watching my channel too. So thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate your wonderful email. These knives are fantastic. Keep up the great work, and wow, that's inspiring. You know what? I want to try making my own Damascus now from seeing your stuff here. So thanks again for sending these in. From Louisiana, let's head to Santa Fe, Argentina. Fernando's a 24-year-old knife maker. He's been making knives for a little over 3 years, and it was just in the last year that he started to sell them. He has a charcoal forge, some basic tools, and he doesn't have a belt grinder, but he's saving his money for one. So essentially, he's kind of selling his knives and again, using that money to put towards tools and saving up for a belt grinder. Really great looking blades here. This first one here, this chef's knife, was out of 5160, and then the kukri and the cleaver he forged from a leaf spring. Fernando, your work looks fantastic. Very, very well done. Keep up the great work, and I sure hope you get your belt grinder very, very soon. All right, let's head back to America. Okay, so this is from Logan. He's a 14-year-old knife maker from North Carolina. He says these videos have really helped him improve his grinding technique. And, you know, this steel he got to make this knife was from an old bandsaw blade, and it was given to him by the the North Carolina Custom Knife Makers Guild. That is really cool. What makes it even cooler is that he made this knife for his dad's 40th birthday. Zebra wood scales, and the pins are hand peened. They're not glued. These scales aren't glued on, they're peened over. Wow, you know what? Logan, these are those stories that I'm talking about that make this segment so cool and so fun. I'm sure your dad absolutely loves this knife. I'm sure he's so proud of you, and just such a cool thing. So Logan, thank you for sharing this with us. You know what? I wish you much success in your knife making endeavors. You're on the right track. Keep up the great work. Okay, let's move north just a little bit. We're going to go to southern Ontario, right near Niagara Falls. Chris has made this. This is his very first knife set, and it's actually a cheese knife set. Now, I'll tell you right off the bat, he has really done a fantastic job on the shape and the profile of these blades. Cheese knives have very specific shapes and profiles depending on the types of cheese they're designed to cut, and this is very, very well done. Chris, you've done a wonderful job. Also, he made this knife set from Nitro V, which is a great choice, and a really cool feature he put into the custom cutting board he made is that he's got a magnet hidden in there, and it actually stores the blades. Very well done, Chris. Keep up the great work. All right, now this next knife and the story behind it they inspire me to no end. Jared is a 17-year-old and he loves knife making, but he's got a medical condition. It's a kidney issue, and basically he gets exhausted very, very quickly. He started this knife about a year ago, and it took him pretty much a year to finish. And he said that just once he gets working, he just gets so tired. So, you know, it really makes me take stock. And everybody out there, I mean, don't take your health for granted. Wake up every morning, be grateful for it, and then pull your inspiration from people like Jared. You know, he made this knife, and in spite of his health issues, he did it. That's incredible. Jared, you're a hero. I really hope you can find some medical help for your condition, and just know that you've absolutely inspired me, and I'm absolutely honored that you'd share this and your story with us. Very nice knife. Thank you for sending this in. Okay, let's head back to Australia. Jasper is a 20-year-old knife maker, and he's actually been forging, started blacksmithing when he was 14 years old and got into knife making right away. This first knife here he made from chainsaw Damascus that he forged himself. That's pretty cool. Jahar scales and stainless for the pins. This next knife was 52-100 blade steel, and the micarta scales, he actually made it himself as a canvas micarta. He put in here, it's way more trouble than it's worth, but my goodness, it sure turned out really, really well. He also said it was a great learning experience, so I guess it's kind of a win-win-win. Lastly here, this knife is a 1075 Scandi that he made with a stacked leather handle. He has nickel, silver, and copper plates in the middle, and then antler bolsters at both ends. Really, really fantastic looking blades here. You know, I love the fact that I'm seeing so many people get into knife making and forging and blacksmithing at 14 years old. That is an awesome trend. Man, it just kind of makes you think there must be something right going on here with the way kids' interests are being diverted to things like blacksmithing and knife making. Awesome to see. Jasper, thanks for sharing this with us. Great looking blades. And we're going to head back to France now. Clement is a 22-year-old student, and this is the first knife that he's made. He says he likes a lot of my projects, not all of them. I appreciate that honesty, Clement. That's totally cool. And you know what? He says that the steel he used is some scrap flat iron that he found. The wood is a mystery wood and aluminum pins. And it's interesting because he notes that he said this process was just riddled with mistakes for him, and that even the finish isn't necessarily to his taste, but he's so happy that he did it, and he's going to apply a lot of the stuff that he's learned from this knife to his next knife project. And you know what, for a first knife, this is a very ambitious build, first of all, and it turned out really good. I think this looks fantastic, and you know what, I like your attitude. You've got the right way of thinking about it. You're going to take what you learn here, and every single knife gets better. So Clement, thank you for sharing this. Keep on making knives, and I hope you continue to have a blast with it. All right, now we're going to go to a gentleman who's just gotten into knife making, and check this out. What he does for a living, like his combination of jobs. He's a psychotherapist as well as a butcher by trade. I mean, that's nuts. You can't make that stuff up. Well, maybe you could, but that's what he says he is, so I'm going to take him at his word. Anyways, he said that he was snooping around, found this channel, and he's just hooked on knife making. This is the very first knife he's made, is a little neck knife. He used 1080 for the steel and put a mustard patina finish on it, and he used tulip wood for the handle. Mark, this is a great looking blade. Glad you found this new hobby, and hopefully it serves well with your butchering trade and not your psychotherapist trade. All right, thanks for sharing this, buddy. All right, let's head back to Ontario, Canada. Now, Benjamin is a self-described knife nut, and he actually found my YouTube channel, and he saw the series on making knives by hand. He says he followed that exactly and ended up making these two knives. So that is really cool to see, really cool to hear about. So Benjamin, thank you so much for that. He also notes that he's not making his knives to sell them, but rather he'd rather make knives that he can hand off to his children. Knives that will just be passed down through the family and last for generations. Very, very cool. These knives look great. I hope you continue to have fun with it, and I'm sure people will be enjoying your work for years and years to come. Okay, well, we haven't checked anything out from South Africa yet in this episode, so let's go there right now. Now, Werner sends pictures of this knife, and believe it or not, this is actually only his second knife he's made. Beautiful, beautiful friction folder. The materials he used were a Böhler K460 steel for the blade. I've actually never even heard of that before. And he used a mix of black G10 and bamboo for the scales. Love that combination. It looks so good. And this is just really a beautiful functioning piece of art that you've made here, Werner. Incredible, incredible work. And when you think about the fact that this is only their second knife, what a lot of exquisite attention to detail. The fit and finish, all the fuss that you've done over this blade, absolutely paid off. It looks really, really great. I also really like this nice display box you made for it. Just very wonderful looking knife. Keep up the great work, Werner, and thank you for sending this in. All right, and we're going to wrap up this edition of Viewers Knives by looking at a couple of knives from Joe. Joe is actually a full-time university student, and he's been into blacksmithing and making his own knives for only about 3 months. And in those 3 months, he's done a lot of work. He's got some very basic benchtop tools that he uses. He's got a coal forge and then a small anvil where he forges all of his own knives. And really, he's kind of using whatever he can find around for steel, little bits of O1 here and there, or different types of steel. And he's trying tons of different styles and shapes of knives. And I just think this is wonderful. Really cool to see. I like, personally, my preference, I don't like to get stuck in a particular style. There's always a new type of knife that I'd like to try, and you can definitely see that experimentation going on here. Very nicely done, Joe. Thank you for sharing your knives with us. Well, I just want to say thank you so much to everybody for sending your knives in. I really do appreciate it. If you'd like to have your knife featured on this channel, just email me, jeremy@homesteadknives.com. Please keep in mind, I've got a large backlog, probably 300-400 knives that are in a lineup to be featured. So if you email them to me, I'll get them featured. I can't accept anything on Instagram or other social media. It's just too hard to organize. So email is the best way. We will get it featured. And I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. If you did, do give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. And I thank you guys so much for watching. Cheers.